you know.
Well, welcome everybody. We are excited today. We have two guest speakers today. We have the first one, Audra Wise, who's the co-owner and creative master and education specialist of Color Pop Salon. John Paul Mitchell Systems National Educator. Audra has 25 years of experience working in the hair and beauty industry, working 25 years behind the chair, perfecting her craft and has a passion for teaching, which led her to become a John Paul Mitchell Systems National Educator. Audra and Todd have been co-owners of Color Pop Salon for the last 6 years and are growing. In the salon, Audra is known to lead with compassion and patience with her team and her guests. Creating a beautiful salon experience is always the goal for Color Pop Salon. Working behind the chair with guests or working with the team are both equally important to Audra. In the salon, Todd has 18 years of experience on the operations side of the hair and beauty industry and leads with positivity and living by the example in his roles with operations and cultural specialist. In addition, Todd has expanded his role to where he is also a John Paul Mitchell Systems business development manager for the last 3 years, connecting salons to grow their business with Paul Mitchell products, tools, and education. Welcome, Todd and Audra.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having us. We're really thrilled and grateful that you guys asked us to be a part of this podcast.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tina. I'm an admirer far of you, Sean. I don't think I've ever got to tell you this. Is when I was growing up through the Paul Mitchell world, I've told Tina this many times, but I was like, man, I really admire how they work together and all the things that you have led and the things that you've done with the Paul Mitchell schools and also with your salons and so any podcasts that you do. So thank you for what you do. And then Tina, amazing always. And I don't want to take over everything, but I just want to let you know, Tina, we asked her to do a favor for us one time. And not only did she say yes, but she came with flying colors and she says, what do you want? When do you want it? And how long do I have? And, that's what I love about Tina and how she leads. So thank you, Tina, for having us.
I love it. This is going to be a great podcast. We've been working hard to get this scheduled with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for your
So,
patience.
so how we always, a bio's one thing, but we like to, hear it from you guys. Like, where did this start? I mean, Audra, you go back 25 years. Todd, you go back 18. Like, what led you guys to where we are today? Like, you guys have been owners of the salon for the last 6 years. Todd, you were in the Paul Mitchell school world for a while. So how did we get here? Audra, was this something, did you always want to do hair? Like, is this something that has been a passion? Did you stumble into it and just fell in love with it? So kind of take us through what brought us here.
Oh, that's funny. No, I did not always want to do hair. I stumbled into it. Um, Todd and I got married pretty young and had children pretty young, and we started our families uh, pretty much out the gate. And I was going to a hairdresser at the time, and she was needing a front desk receptionist. And at that time, I needed to get a job, so I was like, oh, I'll just go work there. So I was working as a receptionist and I was there a couple of years and, managed the front desk. And I just started to fall in love with the industry and how fun everybody was having and the clothes they were wearing because it was like early 2000s. And so everybody's got the skulls and the studs and the hair. And I was like, wow, this is really great. So, I decided to go to school and I went to night school and worked during the day. And that's basically where my career began and my love for the industry began. And soon after I was done with school, I became a Paul Mitchell educator because we were a Paul Mitchell salon and my old boss was an educator. And so she kind of pushed me that way. And that has just kept me going with my passion for the industry and everything. And I was actually at a commissioned salon for 17 years, which is so crazy to say because nobody stays anywhere for 17 years. But I did, I lived, I grew, we were a family there and we enjoyed ourselves. And that was a fun time. And then I decided to go off on my own and to become a solopreneur. And at that time, this guy was always telling me, he goes, we should open up a salon. And I'm like, I don't know, because I've been at a salon for a long time, and I do know the strength and the passion and the energy that it takes to have a salon. And so it took me about 3 years of him talking to me about it, and then finally the walls of my solopreneurship got really small. And I think you have to get to a place of, I want to do a little bit more than be behind the chair, because I was thinking, I got 20 years of information, education. What am I going to do with it? Just kind of sit in here and die with it, and I think when you want to make that leap, you have to be ready to say, you know what, I'm ready just to give it away, and I was ready to grow people, because I kind of felt like there's always room for growth, but I think I was just wanting to go in a different direction. And he had a little bit more convincing to do for me. And then I had to make that jump to decide to open up the salon. And it's really been one of the best things that we've ever done in this industry. And just for us, the best thing, and sometimes feels like it's the worst thing, but but for the most part, it's been really good. And I think me always having a partnership with Paul Mitchell, being able to be connected with people like Tina, like Wynn, at that time, we had wonderful artistic directors of like Robert Cromings and Stephanie Kachelski, like all these people that had that same type of compassion, that just wanted to share and help everybody get to that next level. And I just was so drawn and so attached to that servant's mentality of just like, hey, I've gotten all this, let me just give it to you. And I was just always ready to, take it, to absorb it. Cause, I don't know, I always just felt like if I'm going to do something, let's just do it, So that's kind of been there's a lot of stuff in between there, but that was like a really down, like kind of how I got in here. I never thought I was ever going to be a hairdresser. And here I am, almost 25 years later, and still like passionate about it and still love the industry. And it's such a joy to like be able to see the new people coming in and being able to share and give to them. I just want to make sure that I give as much to other people as what I've gotten out of this industry, and I just think that that's part of our DNA. It's part of who we need to be. If you give, you get a lot, you better make sure you give a lot. So.
Right. So, well, that's a hard act to follow there. She's like superstar.
You're it.
Kind of like on the other side of it, he just started on the other side following me around, he was in corporate jobs and stuff, and working in with warehouse people and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's a different culture, let's just say that. And so he always would come and follow me around to like hair shows and cut-a-thons and enjoyed. He was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get here, but I need to get in here, and he was able to, get hooked up with the Paul Mitchell schools, which, also just made us fall in love with the schools. You were with the schools for what, almost 10 years?
Almost 10 years. Yeah. So like how she said, I just basically followed her into this industry. I was taking vacation time, and I saw that she would work 5 days a week. And then we had 3 little kids at the time. And then she's racing off to do a show or work backstage or do something. And so she's working 7 days a week. And she's at the end of it, I'm expecting her to come home, complain, and be tired. No, she was just the reverse. She was energetic. She was excited. I'm like, dude, I only work 5 days a week, and I can't wait to punch that clock at 5. And I hate every minute of it, even though I made a really great living at that time. But I was seeing how fulfilled she was every time she went to work. Even if it wasn't a show, she was at her salon. Felt like it was a show at her salon. And then I started following her to these events, and I noticed that they always needed helping hands. So that's when I would volunteer my time. I'd pay my ticket to get into the show, and I would get over there and, hey, running water, setting up things. And then I just kept running into the leaders of the John Paul Mitchell Systems family and the schools. And they're like, what do you do here? Are you working for us? I was like, no, what do you need? And then this kind of like, different cities, different things, run into them over and over again. And my message to everyone listening to this, salon leaders and our stylists that are out there and future professionals, is that nothing comes easy. If you want something that you really want, and you're looking at this on social, you're looking at this in somebody else's life, is why them? I'm going to tell you why them. It's because they did the work. They did the work. You see them now, and it looks easy because that's their job now, is to help other people's lives get to where they want to go, and then give them an opportunity so they can be that next level. And that's what I did. I did the work. And then it finally led to a position at the schools, and I grew within the schools. And oh gosh, you said Robert Cromie. So I'm going to throw this in there. And if Robert's listening, I know Tina will probably get this to him. So
I'll send it to him.
Actually, it was the first time that I met you, Tina, that same night. It was at a summit. It was a mini summit or something like that. And his leadership were there. And then Robert Cromie was there. And I was like, man, I was probably only there 6 months with the team. And so we're trying to grow this team in Houston, new school. And I see Robert Cromie. I've been watching for years on the videos. Back then it was videotapes of Audra doing stuff. And I was like, man, that guy knows it all. I need to find out, what's he's about. And so he's like, hey, what's going on? He has this cool accent. I'm not even going to try to do it. And then he goes, so he said, hey, who are you? And I said, oh, I told him who I was. And then he was like, cool. Do you still work at the Gap? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, you look like you work at the bloody Gap. You need to change your outfit. You need to change your hair. You want to be in this industry. You got to talk like a hairdresser. You got to work like a hairdresser. You got to look like a hairdresser. And then you'll become that. And then I was like, he saw my face, because at first I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I did not make the connection I wanted to make. And then he gave me a lifelong lesson. You got to work. You got to do it. You got to look the part. You got to act the part. He gave me a gift, and he knew what he was doing, because when he walked away, he looked at me, patted me on the back, and he smiled. But that was that tough love that I needed in that moment, where I thought I was going to have this like starstruck thing. And he gave me a lifelong lesson there. And it was awesome, because it changed my life. And so life's about pivotal moments. And so I took advantage of those things, and I kept growing within the schools. And anytime there was somebody who could say yes, I went and go, say yes, you can figure it out later. I kept doing that, and I kept moving up the ranks, but it wasn't because of I was bragging on myself. I'm doing it, but I did what the Paul Mitchell way was. And Tina, you're a big advocate of this. Make everyone look better than you. And in return, when you're helping them, they're going to come out when they get a reward, or they just move up, or they get an opportunity. They're going to say, who helped you do this? And the person who helped them, their name's going to come out. And so that's how I was able to keep coming up, because I never had to ask for a raise, and I never had to ask for an opportunity. It just somehow always came out, just like us, connecting over all these years and keeping that going. And I just love that about you, Tina. So thank you for making that happen. And then fast forwarding through the years, we did a lot of fundraising. We did a lot of shows and things like that. And then I left the industry for a little bit. And then I was encouraging Audra. I said, hey, let's do this salon thing. She was like, no way, man. I know what it takes. I know what it takes. I saw the hardships, that her past owners went through, and the good times and the bad times, and we're like, do we want to go into that? Because yes, it sounds great. I want to own my own business. I want to do the things and reap the rewards of that. But do you really know what it takes? And then we got on a call with you and Brian.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah. And then
at that point, I feel like, that you have a network of people out there that are there to help. But I think a lot of times we don't know to ask for help, right? And I don't know, at that point, I was like, we need some advice. We need some people to talk to that we look up to, and they're in a spot that we would like to be in. And I think that's one of my biggest changes, is what I've done, is using my network of people around me. And I look back earlier in my career, and yes, I did have help, but it was given to me. I never like would say, can you help me? I'm lost, or I don't know what to do. And I think as I've gotten older, I am okay with going, Tina, I don't know what I'm doing. Sean, I need some help. Guys, like I help me. I think you just kind of put on your humble pants and you are okay. And it's completely fine. Actually, I think that makes you a stronger person and a better person to the other people that you're helping get to that point when you know that you yourself can ask for help.
Yeah.
Growth is just forever.
Yeah.
Love that. You said something in the beginning in regards to owning the salon has been the best and the worst thing. So I would love to hear how you keep the days where it feels like it's the worst thing, how you keep pushing forward and know that the best thing's on the other side of the worst thing. Because I think sometimes in life we get stuck consistently feeling like this is the worst thing. And instead of persevering and moving through it, that's where we just stop and say, this isn't for me. There's too many roadblocks. So as somebody who has been in the industry for 25 years and had a salon for 6 years, and the fact that you were so transparent, literally within the first 2 minutes about it's been the best thing, but I'm not going to lie, it's been the worst thing too. Kind of talk through that.
Yeah, I should have said that. Just being honest, and I
This is
think
who we are.
has helped. What helps me is that, and it's still something I'm currently working on today, last night, this morning, is that I'm working on not taking things personal. I think when you own a salon, you put your heart, your soul, your bloody fingers, everything into it. So, and you love it so much, right? And then when you don't receive that same type of energy back, it's like a little, twist of stab into the heart, and you feel a bit defeated yourself. Like I am not accomplishing something, like I am not setting the example that I want to set. So what I have been working on and what I continue to work on is, like I said, not taking things personal. And I also have to get right with myself. So whenever I start to feel a little defeated, I go and I will read I'll read devotions in the morning. Or I love to go on walks, and I need to like clear my head of all the negativity, or maybe all the negative pour in that I got into the day, or all the positive pour out. And after a while you get empty, and I'm just starting to realize how important these small things are to me, to make sure that my head is on straight and that I have guidance of people that I look up to. I have guidance spiritually that's going to help me, because I've tried to just do it on my own, of like, however I've done things in the past, and it's not enough. And I think that if you truly want to help and motivate people and help them get there, then what are you doing yourself? I'm just taking my own advice that I'm giving to other people. We're not machines. It's like we can't just continue to give, and then like go to bed late at night, or not drink enough water, or get stuck in the social media scroll with, stuff like that just kind of fills your head with like craziness. And that, I mean, I know our brains are this big, but I know we only use like this much part of it. So I'm thinking the little bit that I do use, I need to like make sure that it's filled with stuff that is gonna help me, and help me make sure that I am living up to the expectation and the what I'm meant to do. I just know that we're all meant to do something really great. And I just constantly have to remember myself. I wasn't made just to be okay in middle. I know we were all made to be something awesome. So I have to tell myself, okay, Audra, this is what I signed up for, and I'm ready for it. And I'm ready to accept all the goodness of today and all the abundance. So let's go. It's a lot of talking to myself.
Yeah. Can I add something to that? So, we talk about, shifting our lives. We talk about, you're giving everything And then sometimes it feels like you want that give and take, and you don't get that. Where I had this conversation with a few people in the gathering just recently, and we carry such heavy loads as leaders, as people, as team members, as family members. We carry heavy loads, and so I'm just going to give you just like a quick synopsis of that. So just picture this: you have 5-gallon bucket, you're carrying it's full of water. Well, you know what? I'm carrying this, I'm struggling, and there's 2 other people next to me. And I'm struggling carrying all this weight. Sometimes it's my weight that I do need to carry, and I need to go through it with a positive attitude, and I'll get to the other end. And then most of the time, though, 90% of the time, the weight that we're carrying is weight that we don't have to carry, that someone else can help us with. And then sometimes it's something that we should never carry at all. And then that's when there's 3 people standing there. I'm one of them carrying all that water, right? Well, there's actually 2 other buckets attached to mine. So I set it down. I separate the 3 buckets. I divide the water because those 2 people are coming to help me. Now we all 3 can walk together, and we can all have that light load. And then we can get to the other side a lot faster if you just let people help you. But sometimes you just got to ask. So delegate.
I love that. Can you talk more about that? Because a lot of the salons that we coach, that's where they really struggle, and they just carry the whole load. They carry that whole bucket, if you will. What a great analogy, by the way.
Yeah.
I've always been the leader of, I'm not even going to carry the bucket. Like, I just pass it right away. Sean knows that. And so it's easy for me, but I know that 99.9% of leaders, that's not easy to ask for help. And Audra, you said it right away. You said you got to put on your humble pants. So, how do you do that? And give advice to those salon owners and salon leaders how to do that.
Well, I think for me, one of the first things I do is that, I'm partnered with Todd, my husband, which is awesome and sometimes challenging at the same time, because we've had to figure out a whole new way of communication, right? So what I do first is I do lean on him a lot. When I do have those days where I'm kind of like, I've had an overwhelming day, I do lean on him a lot and give him all of the whatever was bad, and
Unloading.
I do unload a lot.
Or filter.
Yes.
Yep,
And so then he helps me work through that. So I think that utilizing your partner, if you're lucky to have one in your business, that you guys use each other as that sounding board. What else?
Yeah, no, I think you said it all. It's just, you got to make sure you have someone to go to that you can trust, because the conversations that you have to have sometimes as a leader, you can't have with your team members, even though they're really close with you and they're really great at what they do.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to have a way to communicate with somebody where they're not going to take it back to the rest of the team, because sometimes the first time we say something, it's not really what we even mean or what we're feeling, but it's just because you're searching for the words, it just comes out all wrong, So that's why I said earlier, filter, because, and then, and then delegate. And then delegate that out, because we got to have someone that you can rely to. And if it's not in your own business as a leader, maybe it's somebody you do confide to, but remember, you do have to have a coach in different areas. So it could be business, a financial coach, it could be a mentor coach, it could be a motivational coach. And as Audra said earlier, we are huge advocates of constant learning and feeding our souls and feeding our minds and our education, our business. So you have to constantly do that. And I think the more that you do that, the easier it is for you to make decisions. Something I'm working on now is shorter. So I'm going to be shorter on this call. And then also to make sure that I'm quicker to action. Stop planning, quicker to action. Because we lose so much time. We feel like we have a lot of time. We do not. Why not do it now? And there's some really great leaders of industry that are out there right now. Some people like them, some people don't. Doesn't matter about that. What it matters is that I've seen a business excel overnight because they work on the project until it's done, instead of like, I'm one of those people. Oh, well, that's a hot project. We're stuck at that. we'll come back to that. Let's take care of this other thing. As soon as I started listening to what they were saying, I was like, oh my gosh, we need to go back to that, work until it's done. If we can't get it, let's get it done by getting somebody in here to help us do it. And it's kind of helped us on a couple of projects.
I think another way that kind of helped me start delegating, because, I was, when we first opened up the salon, I was working behind the chair. And then I was also trying to educate all of my staff. And then, I'm like helping to, making sure our culture, I was doing everything. And then after a while, they're like, I got, now that we've had the salon for 6 years, I'm kind of seeing like I'm just touching on such small little things and it's all going, but it's just not enough. So I really have to, decide like what I started letting go of small things, because I am like a little bit of a, a little bit of a control person. So I just started delegating small things.
Not
And
you.
I started off with, which was a big one for me. I have somebody helping me do education with the salon and helping, me educate other staff. And that has kind of helped or a lot, and I'm still have my hands in it, but it's nice. It's very rewarding, and you have to, like salon owners, you have to be willing to do that so you can feel that reward of like, wow, look, I'm not having to do that because somebody else is doing it and doing a fabulous job because they have been a representation of me this whole time, and, then I started letting go of social media, and realizing that the people on your team are very talented and that they would actually love to have a part in the growth of the salon, right? And just allowing it to happen. Now, sometimes it is tough because you just want to be a part of the fun. But, a lot of times when you're basically promoting yourself, right? So I'm a boss or a salon owner, stylist, but I'm promoting myself to just only be the boss, right? And so now that you have to change your mentality of like, okay, what got me here was my hard work, was my hands in hair and my hands in everything. Well, now that's not going to help me be a great boss. Now I need to like let other people be that great person so that I can design a beautiful place for everybody to work at, that I can free my brain so then I can design the place that I'm wanting to create.
Yes.
Right. And so, and that's been some time for me, to do that. I'm not just like, oh, okay. But, cause when you've done something for a long time, it really is hard to let that go because you just start to feel like, that's kind of like who you are. And if that's not you anymore, then who are you? Right. Well, who are we? We are people that decided to open up a place of business, and we decided to grow people. Right. So now we get the pleasure of, creating a successful business, a profitable business, and then also like have the pleasure of being able to grow people. Like that's who I am now,
And
It.
and that really brings us to where we are in the world with people and teams and the shift that we're seeing. So what are you seeing as far as in the environment that we're in with the shift in people and in the industry and as leaders? Like what does that look like for us? Because it's very different. We kind of went through, we were real consistent, and then we had that thing called COVID where everything got real different. And now we're kind of in a different space we're navigating again. So what are you seeing and what shifts are you making?
Do you want to start?
Yeah, can I jump in there? So, as a John Paul Mitchell Systems Business Development Manager, my job is to help connect people with education, products, product knowledge, and sell Paul Mitchell, but also sell the dream of what Paul Mitchell can do as a team and what they can do for you. The main things that I'm seeing out there in this role, because, I've been a salon owner, I've been in industry a long time, and we've seen those areas or the times of large salons. And then it kind of kept decreasing in size, and then more solopreneurs. And in the time that I've been back in this role is in the last 3 years, I've seen that shift where I would go into those solopreneur areas and I would see them completely full in a waiting list. And just this, actually, yesterday, I was in another town and I went to go call on some salons. And I went into one of those places and 95% of it is empty.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, because there is a place, and I love that Audra always says this, there's a place for everybody in this industry. Okay.
Yes.
And so let's not, clear that. Let's just put that on the table right there. And we applaud that. But I'm letting you know that 90% of both those places I went to are completely empty. And when I asked them, where is your friends that used to be here? And you used to be in the back, and now you're in the front, and it's a double size. They said, I know, this is awesome. And they're getting it for free.
Oh, wow.
All right. And the reason why was because these people are going back to be a part of a team, or they're leaving the industry altogether because they didn't have any guests, or they weren't good at handling their books, or they didn't want to put in the time anymore to what it takes to do that, because they're missing out. And this has been going on for a few times that I've had these conversations. We had this conversation before, Tina, is they missed the color bar talking about formulations. They missed the education. And then also what they're saying is like, I can grow with another team. And so as salon owners, and we get coached too. We go through a lot of coaching as well. And working on the Paul Mitchell side is that you have to make sure that you roll with the times. As salon owners, as salon leadership, even though this was my ways, yes, set your guidelines. Set your guidelines to who you are, what you want in your business, and where you want to go for the future. And be open to bring some of these people that are on a smaller team, or that was a solopreneur and they want to come back, because they're also a little scared. They're a little scared, they're a little nervous, right? And, showing up to a new place and thinking they have to know it all. No, you just got to follow our systems and be open to it. You can do it. Come on, bring it. And then we'll take you from where you are now to the next level. But you have to be open as a leader and shift, because, we come from the time where you're a 9 to 5 and you're doing like, how many guests did you do back in the day, Audra? All right, she's not going to brag. But,
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like 6 or 7 guests a day, right? And so can you still do that? Yes, you can. But not everybody wants to do that. But what I love about this industry is now you can, with 3 or 4 guests, capitalize what they're doing, provide that. And then all these people who are out there on their own, now they have a place they can come back and do that. And I see that the industry is starting to shift slowly. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to own a business. But make sure you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Get the right coaching. Follow the right podcast, follow the right people. Are they really doing that? Are they really walking the walk, talking the talk? And it is so many, pretenders out there, but there's so many great people out there. So, it's just do your research and do that. And everything that Audra was talking about earlier, it's just like delegating.
The biggest shift that I've seen after everything and the changes and just dynamics of people in general is the time that everybody wants to accomplish their goals is definitely much shorter. Nobody wants to hear about how I worked for X amount of years to get to this amount of haircut and stuff like that. And so I eventually just had to make that shift and figure out how can I really fast track, an education program, or fast track them getting to that point so they don't lose interest in myself, what I have to offer the salon. So, long or gone are those like year apprenticeship programs and things like that. Like they're ready to go. They're ready to get started. So I've definitely made a shift in that. I've also made a shift in being a little softer for people, and that's okay. The level of stress for everyone is a little higher, right? And I think as an owner, you just have to be aware of those stresses, even if you don't feel like that stress is a stress. You're like, what are you talking about? But everybody's anxieties or stress levels are a little higher. So just be aware of it. And, I believe in this industry, you almost have to have so many more soft skills as a
Mm.
person, as a leader, versus having your technical skills as a hairdresser. And I know we've talked about that for years and years and years, but my gosh, it is so much more
Emphasized.
emphasis. Yeah,
Mhm.
because and I think those are skills that are kind of like lax, because we don't really talk to people as much anymore. Everybody's texting, and you can just DM people and messaging stuff. So those like little skills go away. So it's almost having to teach and relearn those things, be a little softer around the edges for people who are new, and then be fast. Be fast in how I can get them to get to their goals, and always be clear about it. And that's something I'm currently working on right now, because if you think about the short amount of time we have people, 4 years, 5 years, I mean, 5 years would be awesome, right? That sometimes you can have some of your staff. So we better get them to where they need to go if we know that, right?
Mhm.
And so it's something, and hopefully, we want to keep team members for longer than that. So then I have to make sure that I have a plan,
Yeah.
for that future for them, and like I said, that's something that I'm currently working on, even now to this day, because, I'm starting to get some people that I've had for, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And I'm like, oh, okay, I need to really,
What's the career path
what's
for them?
what's
Yeah.
next for them? Everybody wants that, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a definite thing to have for your team.
Can I jump in there?
Mm-hmm.
So on that same thing is we were talking about good habits and to do as leaders is that you have to make sure you're meeting with them at least weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We try
Yeah.
to say, oh, it's this day, but weekly you need to touch base with everybody. And that's not just with numbers. Yes, we talk about numbers, but don't make it the only thing. Talk about what's behind the numbers, what's driving them to get out of bed so they can make that goal. And everybody
Yeah.
says, I want to make this big jackpot number. Okay, great. Well, let's break it down. I love Audra always does that really great. Let's break it down to the hour. Let's say, what does that take? How many guests? What kind of services? How many days? What are we doing? We have some people in our team now that's doing 4 days a week and they're doing 6 figures. So, how did we do that? I want to get there. I want to take 3 weeks off. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, let's work it down. Why do you want to take 3 weeks off? Why do you want to make that number? Because on the easy days and everything's going right, man, I'm out of bed, I'm running. And then they get to the salon and everything's going good. And they're like, wow, I just had to pay for a new roof on my salon or on my house. And so I got this huge bill. They're stressing. And then their whole day fell apart. So now they went from being a hero to a zero in their mind. They're not.
Right.
But, even in our own salon, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago and we did like a halfway point, of the month. And they were like, we've had some people move this and that, like on their books. And they're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm having my biggest month. But it didn't feel that way because now they're getting faster. Now they're having more communications. Now they're doing quality. Well, they were always doing quality service, but they're doing, they're raising the game. And what's really cool about that is the more that you have those conversations, they don't even realize how good they're really doing. So celebrate the wins in every moment. And then we do focus on the things that we need to overcome, but focus on the wins because you're constantly winning. And as a leader, you have to do this too. And if you can't do this, guess what? You can learn to do it because you started this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think one of the, oh, go ahead, Tina.
I love that so much. And what a great podcast. I mean, we could seriously go for 8 hours with you guys and still not, touch the surface of what it takes. And I loved where Sean was going in the beginning, the best and the worst of being a salon owner, right? We could write a whole manual, on this, the best and the worst. And we'll definitely have to have you back and talk more about what is the worst. And so you shared some really, really great things that I think are the top two that salon owners are really struggling with. And I know you guys are running a mastermind, which I think is awesome, the Houston Mastermind. Can you talk about that? And what else are you doing? And how can people get a hold of you? How can they find you?
So yes, we are part of Salon Mastermind Houston, which is a really good friend of mine that we actually used to work together, Jackie Machoni, and she is kind of the mastermind behind it, but she asked us to be a part of it, which was super awesome and amazing. And, you know, our whole point is just getting people in this industry together, sharing ideas, getting business tips, you know, and having great speakers like yourself, which we were so awesome to do. You can, I mean, for us, you can always find us on social, which is, you know, I'm on A Wise Hairdresser for my Instagram, and Todd is Todd from Texas, Todd, Texas.
Todd Wise TX.
Yeah.
And
So,
then if you want Salon Mastermind information, I just looked it up here to make sure I got it right. salonmastermind.houston. Or you can find us at Color Pop Salon, Color Pop Salons on Instagram. And so just DM us. That's the best way to get us and to get connected. But the main thing about Salon Masterminds, and Tina, you had that going as well, is to bring people together to where we used to have real conversations, and every salon can grow, not just one salon can grow. And you're sharing the things that you're great at, and you're sharing the things you need help on. And then we have guest speakers that come in at, and we're trying to expand this in other areas as well. So it's been going really well. We've already had 3. We do it every quarter. We have a meeting. It's always in person. And we have a lot of vendors and a lot of people donating their time as speakers, like Tina Black, yourself. And so I can't wait for the next one. It's a little bit of a surprise, but watch that. Who's coming up next? So you're gonna have to look on that Salon Mastermind.
But you know, thanks so much for having us. I think if I was to leave anything, you know, one word of advice, you know, I'll talk about the best part. You know, we'll talk about the worst part another time. But the best part is being able to do it with a partner. I know it's not impossible to do it with one person, but I mean, the fact that I get to do it with my husband and we get to share this new part of our lives together has really been beneficial for both of us. And, you know, I know some people do it alone and then some people just do it with a partner, but, you know, I think that a team of people, you know, is definitely what you need to do to help you get to that point of whatever level of success and what you want, and never steer away from your original vision. It's so easy to listen to people say, well, that's kind of silly. That's kind of dumb. You started this for a reason. And if you have to write it on your bathroom mirror, tattoo it on your hand, whatever, the reason why you started this is the reason why you need to stick with it and not listen to people tell you that that's not a good idea. You know, I think it's at the end of the day, we just got to believe in ourselves and then have somebody that believes in you as well.
Yeah. I love that. So good, you guys. Yes, you got to have your A team. I always talk about if you want to scale, you got to have an A team, and you guys have really done well with that. And just out of curiosity, I would love to know your last piece of advice that you would give a future professional in the industry about ready to graduate to as we end out this podcast. And thank you both so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
We just love
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Like, I think we could talk for hours and hours. Now, if I was to you know, what I would tell the future professional coming out of this industry is always remember why they started, because in the beginning, it's going to be bumpy because you were awesome in school, right? And then you're going to get to a salon and you're not going to quite be at that level yet, which is okay. This is a craft. This is a lifelong journey. Okay. So never get discouraged. Always be hungry. And always look to have a mentor. It could be a really high up mentor, like this platform artist that is like, so like, you know,
Caruso.
Yeah. It could be somebody
like you, Audra.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But then also have a mentor that's like maybe a year or two ahead of you, you know, and it is okay to ask for help and make sure when you go into a salon, you know, ask good questions. And do you feel like you fit your vibe there? Like if it feels like home and it feels like ask questions like what's their average ticket? What kind of education do they have there? And then, you know, and be open and willing for the rest of your life, all the education and the wonderful journey that this career is going to take you, and just be open to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it.
So good. All right, you two. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you guys.
Thank
All
you
right,
guys. Thank you
you.
so much, Sean. Thank you, Tina. We had
Thank
the
you.
best time.
Hey,
We'll see you
everyone.
soon.